It was a chilly December night, a week prior to Christmas. Our family tradition involved celebrating Christmas in our summer house in the Hamptons, New York. During this time of year, the Hamptons were typically tranquil, as a significant portion of the real estate was owned by affluent individuals with multiple residences across the country. My father and I arrived at the house ahead of the rest of the family. My mother and sister were still occupied with work until the following weekend. Given my father's retirement and my winter break from school, we decided to head to the Hamptons early. Each of us had our own bedrooms in the house, situated on a quiet, dead-end road. My dad took care of turning on the heat and water, attending to the usual tasks required when returning after months away, eager to make the most of our early arrival. I brought my PS3 to play video games in my room. The first day was spent immersed in gaming, but that night, a substantial snowstorm greeted us. We had intentionally come early to avoid the challenging road conditions expected in the storm's aftermath. The following morning, as I entered the kitchen, my dad asked when I had built a snowman. Confused, I glanced out the window to find at least 2 feet of fresh snow and a snowman in our backyard. 2 sticks protruded for arms, angled upward, with eyes and a smile carved into its head, facing our window. I insisted I hadn't built it, and my dad attributed it to neighboring kids, considering it a harmless prank. However, the situation took a dark turn the next night. Startled awake by a thump on my window, I initially feared the worst. Pulling the blankets over myself, I hesitated but eventually peeked out. To my horror, another snowman, this time with an angry frown, stood right outside my window. Terrified, I called for my dad, who wasn't pleased this time. He promised to talk to the neighbors the next morning. That morning, my dad discovered the neighbors weren't home. There were no cars in the driveway, leaving us puzzled about the origin of the snowmen. For several days, nothing unusual occurred until Christmas Eve night, when an unexpected knock sounded on our front door. Our immediate family and all 4 grandparents were gathered in the living room. It was already dark outside, and the knock was unexpected. My dad approached the door, asking who it was. A voice on the other side pleaded for help, claiming to have no one to spend Christmas with. We couldn't see the person, as there was no peephole or windows on the door. Growing nervous, my dad insisted the person leave, or we would call the police. The voice outside agreed to leave, and we never opened the door. We connected this incident to the eerie snowmen, suspecting a connection. On Christmas morning, a note was taped to our front door explaining that the snowmen were meant for the boy in the house, as the creator had no one to spend the holiday with. The note hinted at loneliness and possible mental instability, leaving us unsettled. Whether or not the person was inherently hostile, the unsettling actions were enough to make us wary of encountering them. It was Christmas of 2016, and I, Andre, then 21 years old, was spending the holidays with my family at our Uncle Joshua's place. On Christmas Eve, our immediate family, along with cousins and close relatives, decided to celebrate at our uncle and aunt's downtown Miami residence. Coming from Connecticut, we were not accustomed to warm holiday weather. On the Friday before Christmas Eve, my younger brother Nico and I, both single and eager for adventure in Miami, decided to explore the Christmas-themed parties happening at clubs and bars. Despite Nico being 18 with a fake ID, we faced obstacles at the entrance of one Miami beach club. Not only were they charging a steep entrance fee, but the bouncer also exposed Nico's fake ID. Undeterred, we found another bar where Nico attracted the attention of an older woman in her mid-40s. Their conversation seemed odd, with the woman expressing an interest in younger guys with Hispanic accents. As Nico decided to leave with the woman, I stayed at the bar, making friends with fellow patrons. Mid-Uber ride back to our uncle's place, I received a call from Nico, but all I heard was static and unfamiliar male voices, eventually leading to a disconnection. Concerned, I tried reaching Nico multiple times, and when someone finally answered, it was an older man with a deep voice, claiming to have found Nico's phone on the sidewalk. As I pleaded for information, I heard screaming in the background, Nico's voice calling for help, before the call abruptly ended. In panic, I asked the Uber driver to pull over, explaining the situation and seeking advice. The driver urged me to contact the police immediately. Upon reaching our uncle's place, I woke up my family, informed them of Nico's predicament, and provided a description of the woman from the bar. Accompanied by my dad and the police, we went to the bar. During this time, a random number called me. It was Nico, breathless and using a stranger's phone. He explained that he had been kidnapped but managed to escape, leaving him with injuries and all his belongings stolen. Nico recounted that the woman had claimed to call an Uber, but it turned out to be a trap. 2 men in the car threatened him with violence, and during the drive, they called me, warning Nico not to yell. His escape involved running from the car when it momentarily stopped. Despite investigating the bar's footage, the police couldn't identify the woman, and Nico believed the men would have killed him if he hadn't escaped. Although the incident marred the holiday weekend, we were grateful for Nico's survival. On Christmas night, however, Nico's screams disrupted our sleep. He claimed, "She's in the house." While I woke him from his nightmare, his words reminded me of the woman's creepy smile, leaving me uneasy and vigilant throughout the night. A couple of years ago, my brother George and I purchased a small house. We decided to host Christmas that year to gather our family, including our parents, aunt, uncle, cousin, sister, and 2 nephews. Since our sister and her family lived 2 hours away, they planned to spend the night at our place. During Christmas dinner, the topic shifted to recent murders in our area discovered in the woods of our county. The conversation was brief, as our mom and sister wanted to keep the holiday spirit intact for the kids. After dinner, we enjoyed some wine in the living room with a Christmas movie playing in the background. As the night progressed, family members gradually left until only George, my sister, her husband, her kids, and I remained. The kids went to bed and the rest of us stayed up chatting and having more wine. My girlfriend joined us later in the evening, having spent time with her family earlier. Christmas night came to an end, and as I woke up to my girlfriend shaking me, the room was dark. Glancing at the clock, it was past 2 a.m. She urged me to listen, and I heard Mika, our sister's dog, growling in the hall. Investigating. I found the back door wide open, a cold breeze hitting my face. Mika was fixated on the door. Strangely, I heard George's voice calling my name from the darkness outside, seemingly far away in the woods. Concerned, I went back to my room to inform my girlfriend. As I put on my shoes and coat, I heard George's voice again. Outside, there were footprints in the snow leading toward the woods. Yelling George's name, his voice responded. But as I entered the woods, the footprints faded until they were impossible to follow. I screamed for George, but his responses remained at the same distance. Uncomfortable venturing deeper, I called George's phone, but he didn't answer. As his yelling stopped, I felt an eerie silence and my phone rang. It was my girlfriend, revealing George was in his bedroom. Confused, as I had heard George's voice in the woods, I asked her to check on my sister's husband, who was still on the couch. Confirming he was there, I felt an unsettling presence in the woods, as if someone might grab me from any direction. Running back towards the house, I reached safety, finding everyone awake. I explained the situation, Mika growling at the open door, footprints leading into the woods, and the mysterious voice I thought was George's, calling my name. Terrified, we debated whether to call the police for half an hour. When an officer arrived, he asked questions about theft and potential threats. After advising us to call if anything else happened, he left. Unsure if it connected to the ongoing murders in our county, the incident remains unexplained, and the fear of the woods persists.